I recently replayed Assassin's Creed 1 in 2024, and I have to say this game surprised me. For some background, the last time I actually beat AC1 was on the PlayStation 3. Of course, I've played this game multiple times since then, but it's been a while since I sat down and beat it from start to finish. I loved AC1 when I was younger, and revisiting this game in 2024 has been very interesting. Before we start, I want to say this video won't contain spoilers for AC1, and the gameplay will be out of context or just open world stuff. With that being said, this is AC1 in 2024. Assassin's Creed was released in 2007 to both positive and negative reviews. On the one hand, people praised the world building and story. On the other hand, other players criticized the repetitive gameplay structure. The game follows Desmond Miles as he's forced to relive his ancestors' memories in a machine called the Animus. Looking back at it, the modern day storyline is very underrated. It's not as good as AC3's modern day in my opinion, but it's still very mysterious and will have you questioning what's going on. The basic premise is that Abstergo, the company forcing Desmond to relive his ancestors' memories, is looking for an object that they believe Desmond's ancestor came in contact with. The ancestor's story takes place in the Third Crusade and will follow Altair, a master assassin, on his journey to hunt down 9 targets. Altair's journey will take him across Jerusalem, Damascus, and Acre. Unlike the recent AC games which bloat their story with millions of side quests and pointless filler, the story in AC1 is very straightforward, but interesting nonetheless. Your only goal is to go to a city and eliminate the target. There are no side quests that will halt the story. All the targets are tied together narratively, and they will have an impact on the ending and Altair's character. Speaking of Altair, Altair is a great protagonist. I used to believe that Altair was only a good character because of AC Revelations, but after replaying AC1, I have to say Altair is still an amazing character even with only this game in mind. Hot take incoming. I have to mention that Altair's voice acting in AC1 is much better than Revelations. Sure, Revelations has an accent, but Philip's portrayal is just so iconic, well done, and actually has emotion. Altair is a character that I can see will be hit or miss for some. One of Altair's biggest criticisms is that he's not very charismatic, but what can you expect from a person who's been taught to kill people from 9 years old? Also, fun fact, Assassin's Creed 1 has a sync bar, meaning that Altair was never hit in AC1. So anytime that you get hit, remember that's you, not Altair. Speaking of not getting hit, let's move on to gameplay. A lot of people will say that AC1's gameplay hasn't aged well. And to all of those people, I respect your opinion, but I disagree. Let me start off by saying that AC1's gameplay isn't just playable, it actually holds up fairly well. Of course, there's some annoying parts, but that's with almost every video game. Gameplay is broken down into 2 very distinct parts, that being low profile and high profile. When you're in low profile, Altair will do socially acceptable actions that will not cause suspicion. Altair will walk, gently push civilians, and try not to cause any suspicion. However, when you switch to high profile, Altair will parkour, tackle civilians, and make the entire city look at him. Okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it does make Altair look kind of crazy to the average person. If high profile and low profile sound complicated, don't worry, it's actually very simple. As you play the game, you'll become a master at it. That being said, there are 3 main gameplay focuses, that being stealth, combat, and parkour. The stealth in AC1 is actually very mediocre. It doesn't have a crouch button, stalking zones, or any of the stealth tools that the other AC games have. It can get boring when you only have a few features to experiment with. The main focus is social stealth. You are a blade in the crowd and you're not supposed to draw any attention to yourself.
A skilled assassin ensures his work is noticed by the many.
No, Altair, I don't think that's how it works.
I am your superior, in both title and ability. You should know better than to question me.
Okay, dude, I think you need to chill out, dude.
I killed the last man who spoke as such.
Okay, Altair, can we be friends, dude? You
were not my target. I will not take your life.
Thank you? Going back to stealth, the main premise is not drawing attention to yourself. You don't want to be terrorizing civilians or being a menace if you actually want to get your missions done efficiently. You'll have to blend with the crowd and strike when the opportunity presents itself. When stealth fails, you'll either have the option of running away and escaping or fighting your way out. Escaping is pretty much what you'll expect. You'll need to run away and break the guard's line of sight. After you break their line of sight, you will need to hide in a hiding spot, those being haystacks, rooftop gardens, benches, or other places. AC1 is kind of different in the fact that you'll need to hide to escape the guards before you continue on your missions. In the other AC games, you can simply run far enough away and the guards will give up. However, in AC1, they don't stop chasing you unless you hide in one of those hiding spots. This can get pretty annoying when you have to hear the constant running away noise. This isn't too bad since you'll mostly always be able to find a hiding spot. Hiding is one way to do it, but combat is the more quote-unquote fun way to do it. The combat in AC1 is decent and it focuses on attacking and countering at the same time. You have 4 basic weapons, being a sword, a dagger, your hidden blade, and your fists. Each weapon is different and distinct. Your sword is your main weapon that most players will always use. It provides the most defense and is the easiest to use overall. Next up is your dagger. The dagger is pretty much the same as the sword, albeit just a bit faster and with tighter counter windows. The dagger also has different animations that are just as brutal. When using the sword or dagger, a lot of players will just spam the attack button, but there are more efficient ways to actually play. The combo attack is a move you unlock very early in the game. It's very simple to do but hard to master. In summary, you just press the attack button right when your weapon hits the enemies. This results in a quick finisher that can make the fights go by faster. The next weapon, if you want to call it that, is your fists. You only really need to use your fists in interrogation missions where you need to beat up a certain person. There's no use using your fists in actual combat scenarios since the hand-to-hand combat gameplay doesn't have much depth. The last and most powerful weapon is the hidden blade. The hidden blade can one-hit anyone, but there's a catch. You can't actually attack people in combat with it. You can stealth assassinate with it, but in combat the hidden blade can only counter opponents and the timing is a lot harder than your other weapons. It's a very high-risk, high-reward feature. Before I forget, you also have throwing knives as a ranged weapon. These are pretty self-explanatory. You throw them and they kill a guard. They are very useful against archers when you don't want to parkour and climb buildings to attack them. The parkour in AC1 is very underrated. You'll have a fun time climbing around in the Holy Land. The parkour isn't totally unrealistic compared to what we have today, where the characters are literally Spider-Man and can climb anything. Altair takes his time as he slowly makes his way up buildings. I've seen a lot of people say AC1's parkour is unpredictable and that Altair will randomly just jump off of buildings. While that can happen due to a glitch or something else, it's very rare. You jumping off of a building, however, might not be. The parkour in AC1 does not baby you. If you accidentally press a button or move the stick, Altair will move. Most of the time, it's not the game, it's the player. The parkour is easy to pick up, but there's depth underneath it that, if uncovered, could make you faster and more efficient. The parkour in AC1, while built upon in the future games, is still just as fun to use. Now let's shift our focus towards side content. This should be pretty short because there's not much to say. As I said before, your only task is assassinating your targets. It doesn't really make sense for Altair to stop and do some side stuff. Altair is the youngest master assassin in history. I highly doubt he'd waste his time doing quests that the other protagonists did. AC1 actually does have some side content, but it's mostly just tedious collectibles. There are like 300 flags that you can collect, and there are around 60 Templars that you can hunt down and kill. I don't think I really need to tell you this, but don't do it. You literally get nothing from doing this, and it's just a waste of time. The Templar open world fights are fun and they are challenging enemies, but traveling 10 minutes to the other side of the map 100 times is not worth it. The other side content is rescuing civilians from guards. It's pretty basic and it just consists of Altair fighting off guards and then talking to the civilians. Rescuing the civilians unlock vigilantes, which will hold back guards that are chasing you, and scholars, who will let you blend with them to get past certain checkpoints. The scholars and vigilantes are nice, but it's not really worth it since it might feel repetitive. Also, they have the same exact voice lines that you can't skip, which get very old very fast. Doing these side missions can improve your sync bar and give you more health. Progressing the main story also adds more sync bars for you to work with. Once you max out, it's not really worth doing any of the side content. Now, lastly, let's talk about the actual mission structure in depth. The missions will start off with Altair traveling or fast traveling from Masyaf, his home base, to one of the major cities. After that, Altair will make his way into the city and visit the Assassin Bureau to get information about his target. The Rafiqs in the Bureau only have limited knowledge on the specific target, so it's up to Altair to go explore the city to find more information. You can either climb viewpoints to reveal investigations or just run around the city and look for them. There are 4 different types of investigations, those being eavesdropping, pickpocketing, pickpocketing, interrogating, or informant missions. Eavesdropping missions are the most basic and involve you sitting on a bench and pressing a button. Altair will overhear people talking about his target and then the investigation is over. Pretty simple, right? Interrogation involves Altair following a person to a secluded area and beating them up until they reveal something about the target. Pickpocketing is just what it sounds like. Altair will pickpocket a person's belongings. It's often a map of sorts, or it could be letters. The maps sometimes show like archer positions, escape routes, or other mediums that could help you in the main assassination. The informant missions are assassins asking Altair to do random stuff to get information. Something cool about the informants is that they actually grow and respect Altair as the game goes on, which is nice to see. Informant missions usually ask you to collect flags or just kill random targets without getting detected. These are the most gameplay-oriented investigations, but they are also the longest ones, which can be annoying if you just want to get to the main assassination. Now, let's get to the major criticism. This is the same structure for all 9 assassinations. This means that you will have to do the same types of investigations for the entirety of the game. This can be a turnoff for some, but hear me out. You're only required to do 2 or 3 investigations depending on the assassination. You can usually get these done in 5 to 10 minutes if you do them correctly. You then play the amazing assassination set pieces that the game has to offer. This is by far the biggest criticism that the game receives, but I personally don't find a huge problem with it. You can finish these investigations in 10 minutes if you play properly and then play the assassination. Of course, doing all of the investigations might make the assassination easier, but trust me, it's not going to be insanely more difficult taking down the target if you only did the bare minimum amount of investigations. With all that being said, should you play Assassin's Creed 1 in 2024? To me, the answer is without a doubt. While some aspects of the game might be repetitive or show their age, the core gameplay mechanics, engaging storyline, and immersive world make this a timeless classic and an enjoyable experience. Whether you're a longtime fan or a newer player, Assassin's Creed 1 is definitely worth playing. Plus, if you've never played an Assassin's Creed game, this is without a doubt the best place to start. The game is also a great reminder of how far the series has come over the years. With all that being said, thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.